And good morning. Good morning, Dr. Crow. New week begins. Another show starts. Let me go ahead and bring in the guests.
You know what I think? Like people's fear, like they always go like, number one fear, public speaking.
Right.
To me, it would be bowel cancer or something.
Good morning, Austin.
Morning. It's good to see you again. Hope everyone's doing well.
I mean, I'm well. Let's see if our other game. Good morning, Wisp.
Hello.
Good morning.
Kaon was great.
Yes, Kaon is a great show, especially if you just want to watch. What is it? Cute girls doing cute things.
Yeah, it's very slice of life-ish.
And they create a band.
Yeah, and then it goes a few times. It goes, oh, let's use these super expensive animation styles with turning cameras and stuff. Okay. Very, very high class slice of life. Do you always start with AMVs?
I usually start with ones that I've edited. Most of them being pogo songs. One of them being one that Austin wrote and one of his friends wrote with him, and his friend sang.
Yeah, he performs the whole song, but I just wrote the lyrics.
Oh, cool.
And the opening guitar riff, and then he wrote the rest.
Cool, that's awesome.
So, what topics y'all want to talk about this morning?
You just gave me one. I am reminiscing about the high time of AMVs. It was probably the early 2000s.
Oh yeah, they were everywhere back then.
Oh, and people that there were some really good editors at a time when computers were still quite limited. Many people only had 56K modems, so it took forever to download one of these things in not the best quality. But some AMVs were like pieces of art that could easily be shown on MTV back in the day when they still showed music videos. I think lots of them was inspired by the Ghost in the Shell.
Had music videos?
yeah, there was a time like I think it was the 90s.
It wasn't just Teen Mom.
No.
16 and Pregnant, all that.
Oh God! Yeah, this is a town halfway over to the capital city of the state I'm in. Has that on the regular. Like there's entire schools where the girls get pregnant at 16 and really want to, but they don't want the guys. They just want to get pregnant and have kids. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
That's weird.
And it's so I'm in Germany, so it's not urban black girls. It is well, a mix of Turkish and really, really dumb white trash girls.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but AMV is good. Maybe we can at some point watch some of the AMV Hell videos that were compilations done later in the 2000s of several people who make AMVs and all put together in one big hour-long one.
Oh, is it like a best of the best collection kind of thing?
In a way, yeah. And I think at this point there are 6 of them. And it was also a good way to show some anime you haven't seen yet, and some creative medleys where I don't know the two. Someone put together it wasn't Lucky Star, but one of these animes where magical girls throw cute cartoony stars at the earth. And then cross that with another anime where that creates nuclear explosions. All to a very happy song. It's
that sounds clever. Yeah. Most of the AMVs that I used to watch were really subpar,
Oh,
to put it lightly. It's only a select few who stand out that like actually made really cool work out of it.
As everything. That's Sturgeon's law. Many people who just get started with editing and think, "Oh, I made this thing. It's my first thing I made," and yeah, okay, it's the first thing you made, and for that, it's kind of cool. But
yeah, I mean,
compared to
congratulations.
everything else,
keep working.
yeah, it's not good. That's with everything. It's with writing. It's with making music.
Mm-hmm.
You hit the strings. Good. Keep at it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What is it that it said? Like 100,000 hours, and then you become a master of something.
It's more like 1,000 hours.
Is it just 1,000? I swear it was a lot more.
Yeah. And if you cut that down by, let's say, 8 hours a day,
it's not long.
You end up with 3 years, which is usually what you do to get from apprentice to mastership in anything.
Because around 500 hours, you become a journeyman.
Yeah. Thing with that is you need the breaks in between so that your brain can do something else, so that this stuff you learn can be processed. You can't just do the 1,000 hours in one go.
Right.
You need to do something else in between.
You can in The Sims.
Yeah. I'm a lot ending here. It's a good morning, I guess.
Indeed.
The thing I wanted to say, because this brings us to something. Good AMVs know impact and pacing, and I'm lacking a few words here again. They know timing very well.
Mm-hmm.
There were, like with that, I remember there being a few AMVs of Bleach and One Piece right before the time skip that were really good, and they would be able to tell the story of those series through the song that they picked. And it usually wouldn't be one of the popular songs at the time, because at the time the AMVs were starting up, it was bands like Breaking Benjamin, Linkin Park, Korn, but they decided
Papa Roach.
They decided to go with other bands that weren't as well known at the time but are well known now.
Mm-hmm. It was generally the really good ones. Generally had just good music from any era. The first ones I came across, because it was the early 2000s and anime was just making its big way into the West. There were a lot of Evangelion ones, and there was some really good. So think of the show what you want, but the AMVs you could make with it were really striking. There were the Rob Zombie ones. There were Dire Straits AMVs, also really, really well put together. There was oh god, no, I don't remember that one. There was Major Tom with Evangelion. That was a surprisingly good thing. And there was one guy who made a lot of really good ones, had a really gross avatar in the corner of the screen. But man, the guy knew his timing. What scenes to choose for which cut, or to have the impact moment of a scene or the switch of a scene on the note. Beautiful. And he put one of the more famous ones he did, as far as I remember, was he put the end of Evangelion fight with the big angels together with 99 Red Balloons. And it becomes this really fun, amazing slaughter fest. It's great. It's really, really great. You can't probably show that because of licensing issues. There was another quite famous, I don't know about famous, but I showed it around a lot. It is someone made a compilation, I don't know who, at what was called The History of Anime, that went from the beginning to then the present, the early 2000s, to some classical piece that I keep mixing up. It wasn't the Flight of the Bumblebees, or what it's called in English.
Are you talking about the violin song?
Yeah.
Flight of the Bumblebee.
Yeah. It sounds even more stupid in English. The
Oh
title.
yeah, no. But then you hear the song and you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, in German, the title doesn't sound as stupid because the German word for bumblebee is Hummel, which is very onomatopoetic too, because the Hummel, this is the kind of sound it makes when it flies.
Yeah.
So it's der Hummelflug. And in English, it's the flight of the bumblebee.
That's right.
It sounds like someone made a bad meme in classical times. But yeah, I don't know if classical music usually doesn't have copyright issues.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe if you can find that on YouTube, you can play that old piece. It was cut quite well in most parts. I think only in the latter parts it is a bit off.
Yeah, definitely be interested in that Evangelion one you were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But because of
probably
copyright
can't
stuff,
show this on stream.
Yeah, that'd be one where I'd watch it some other time.
That would have to be off stream. And
Unfortunate.
I think Flight of the Bumblebee, it shouldn't have a copyright on it.
Yeah, classical music tends not to.
There are some that do.
It depends whether some algorithm is pissing around. So I can't instantly find the thing on YouTube. Let's see if History of Anime is on YouTube. No, this doesn't look like it. Let's look for AMV.
I found one for Girls and Panzer.
that didn't exist back then.
Yeah, we're talking about classic AMV right now. None of this modern stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. This is it. I found it. It's a 4-minute piece by Sam Farha, whoever that is. I just put that since I'm... All right. I put that in stream discussions.
Depends on which band or orchestra is performing the copyright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very old one, so also the quality is rather low because you need to think of this. This was made in a time when most people had a 56K modem, which means you had a downstream speed of 7 kilobytes per second.
Oh yeah,
7. That was maximum. That was when the line was stable. Usually you were around 5.
Yeah, I remember when we first got DSL. That was insane.
Yeah,
how quick you could get everything. But even then, it was like 5 minutes or so to get a website to load, and then now it's just instant. Everything is instant.
50 kilobytes per second. Whoa! It's light speed. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny too, because like now it's made this whole habit where if I click something and it doesn't load immediately, I'm like, did something break? Do I need to reset my phone? And it's like back in the day, man, it'd be like, about 10 minutes we'll be able to see what's going on here. I remember we watched the Spider-Man trailer when it was released, and I remember it took about 45 minutes for like a 2-minute trailer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had where you were playing online, be it Diablo or Age of Empires or what have you, and then the phone rings, and you just hope nobody picks it up.
Please don't disconnect me.
Oh, a new patch. I've been downloading for 40 minutes. Oh, the connection broke. Mm-hmm. And back then there was no technology to, or it wasn't widely implemented. It was usually for website stuff. To resume downloads. Didn't exist. You had to start from scratch.
Start over.
Yeah. That's why video game magazines had CDs with them that had the patches on them.
Yeah, I miss whenever like your subscription to Game Informer or PC Magazine came with a demo disc.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a few.
Yeah, demos. Demos are basically gone now. They're just replaced with the beta.
Yeah, which I think is fraud.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, because the beta is not a demo.
Hmm.
Here's
more
an
of a
early
tech
access.
review.
Pay full price to gain early access, and then the thing does move out of early access for 2 or 3 years, and it's just an unfinished product that you paid for, where you are just a beta tester who pays for being a beta tester. Back in
Or
the
you have
day,
games like DayZ that have been in beta, or excuse me, early release
Yeah.
for 7 to 8 years.
oh
Yeah.
god,
Yeah, but what about Star Citizen?
That
I
game's
think
never
that's a
coming out.
special case.
A lot of people say that game is a fraud. But
Well,
I don't
depends. They
know.
have very high ambition. They're developing completely new technology that is very pricey, and they don't have, as far as I remember, at least back then. I don't know how things are looking right now, but
Mhm.
back then they didn't have any big budget behind them.
Right.
But they had
Yeah.
ambitions of a big budget project. So
They do bring in quite a bit of money, but every couple of years they actually do have a giant like panel where they're like, here's all the stuff we've done, here's everything, like they have an actual like dev tracker, that they'll come out and be like, here's what we're working on, here's why it's taking so long, blah blah blah. And
yeah, and that's at least honest. You need to, if you do projects like that, you need to be in constant open conversation with your customers.
hmm
And what I wanted to say is, back in the day, a beta tester was either something in-house that you were paying for, like quality control, bug hunters,
Mhm.
or something you have a volunteer program for, where you then choose from the people. Many MMORPGs did this back in the day. You could submit a form to be chosen for the beta program, because they wanted beta testers who actually would write reports and not just play the game to have heavy load tests. That's where you do what the open beta is for. That's for where you just test the heavy load for multiplayer games. But to pay to be part of the beta testing, I'm sorry, that is just evil. That is just absolute fraudulent behavior.
The last
Yeah,
good beta test that I was a part of was Halo Reach, and that was if you owned the copy of Halo 3 ODST and you got accepted into the beta program through Halo Waypoint. They gave you a code to download the beta for Reach, but you had to make sure that you were there on time to sign up. Otherwise, there would be hundreds of thousands of other people ahead of you.
Okay, so they at least made that they put a limiter on that made sure it's at least somehow fans of the series.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's something.
The weird one was Halo 3's beta. You had to purchase Crackdown. You had to buy an entirely different game. So that was, I think, a scam. Like
That was
Microsoft trying to hyperinflate
Crackdown
sales for another video game off
because
the
it
back
wasn't
of
doing
Halo.
well. Sales of that game were down, and they wanted to boost it back up.
Mhm.
They wanted their money back on that.
I'm pretty sure it was the first. I'm pretty sure they just didn't think it was going to work. I'm pretty sure the original release is what it was, like the first printing, and then the second printing didn't have it. But I'm pretty sure they literally were like, "Well, let's inflate these sale numbers."
But that's just Microsoft in general.
Yeah, I mean they're also the reason ODST was a full release game instead of a DLC. ODST was supposed to be like $20, I think, something like that.
Yep.
And just an add-on to Halo 3, and then Microsoft was like, "Well, you got enough in there. Why don't you release it for $60?" Okay, Microsoft.
The customers are dumb enough to do it anyway. They need their crack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're gonna pay for their crack.
That's true.
Let's release some DLCs that have absolutely no worth, but rated $10. I'm looking at you, Paradox.
I remember the beginning of the whole DLC fiasco was wasn't it Oblivion's horse armor?
Yes.
Or was it Skyrim?
No.
It was Oblivion, right?
It was Oblivion.
So I remember when that came out, and I was like, "Well, this is weird." Because man, I was so used to with Xbox Live, a game would just give you stuff. It'd be like, "Hey, you know how we made this whole game, but you know it's been a few months, and we decided we're going to throw in some costumes, like Christmas themed and Halloween themed stuff, and it was just free as long as you had Xbox Live. You just went and downloaded it." Halo used to, at least Halo 2, when they would release map packs, it was $10, or if you waited, I think 3 months, they gave it all away for free. So it says if you want it now, you can spend $10, or in a few months you just get it.
There used to be add-on discs for DLC.
Yeah, I've got the Halo 2 one because they shut all the servers down, so I tracked down and got a copy of it so that I can patch anybody who ever, if I run across them and we're like playing, I can patch their game and give them all the DLC.
Oh, there are some games from the 90s that you can't even play with compatibility mode anymore.
Mm-hmm. I'm running into that problem with Generals.
I have to see if I can track down even Generals. Holy shit! If I can track down on some hard drive, I still have this exe file for machines that someone made that wasn't even live on a server anywhere, or it didn't work, or the download didn't work anymore. And I emailed the guy, and he sent me the file so that I could play the game again in like
that's cool.
2009 or 2010.
Mm-hmm.
The game released, I think, in '99, roughly around the time that Earth 2150 released, and it's both are 3D real-time strategy games, but they go at that genre in completely different ways, and I love them both for their distinct reasons. And Machines is a heavily underrated game. I don't know how the Good Old Games version works. I eventually will get it from there. I mean, I still have the CDs of the game, but without the exe file, I can't make it run. So maybe the GOG version does work. I don't know. But it's a wonderful game made by Acclaim back in the day. If you have multiplayer, it's just mirror factions, but the tech tree allows you to go in completely opposite directions. Like the units first start off with ballistic weapons being short range but high power, and energy weapons being low damage but high range. And over the course of the tech development, that switches around to the opposite. And it's a full 3D game. You have the ability for free camera angles. There's the top-down view, then the ground camera horizontal view, which I think is the most useful because you can also look through the fog of war that way.
Oh, so you can kind of cheat the system
you can
a
see
little.
what you see. But if you go beyond the border of the fog of war, you have a screen effect that is like a TV screen losing the signal.
Oh, white noise.
Yeah, and it starts very subtle, and
that's cool.
So, lots of these little details. And the third one, the third camera is first-person view by going into a unit, and you can use all its weapons. You can configure which weapons to fire if you want them single-handedly. Some units have night vision that you can activate. You can tell other units to follow you, and thereby launch an assault into enemy territory quite well. Also, thereby by directly controlling a unit, exploit the AI's weaknesses. Because you can much easier dodge. Some units can sidewalk, others can't. Some units hover, and there there are some buildings that you can enter, even in your base. And
It sounds like it's ahead of its time.
a lot, and yeah, I can. The trailer is still online. We can surely watch that without getting a strike, because I doubt anyone still cares about that. And has a wonderful soundtrack. Machines intro.
So I was looking up what the first DLC was. There were precursors to DLC. Apparently, the Atari 2600 and the Sega Genesis, you were able to download entire titles from their web stores through telephone lines.
Yeah, the Dreamcast was the first one to also have a an actual like online
Support.
network. Yeah, where you had you could browse the web on it and stuff, and like you said, download things.
And they also had
GameCube
DLC.
did too, because they had Phantasy Star Online.
That is true. But this was back in the early 90s. Because the Atari 2600 came out in, what was it? Excuse me. The Atari 2600 came out in 1977 and then was rebranded as the Atari Video Computer System
Okay.
in 1982.
Mm-hmm. Okay, someone made a high definition upload of the intro video. I haven't seen that in forever. If you want, it's just a minute about.
Let me pull it up.
This is an RTS.
All right.
It's very quiet.
That better?
Yeah.
Hey, what year was this?
99.
This was
Okay.
99?
This is 99.
Because like this is way above what like Westwood was doing with Command and Conquer at the time.
Well, so was of 2150. But yeah, go to second 10. Go up there. There you have iron cannons.
I like the HUD. Hold on, let me back that up.
Oh yeah, this is first-person view, but you don't see everything. Yeah, that's the weapons. And you can, with tab, if you hit tab, it switches from weapon 1, only active weapon 1, only active weapon 2, only active weapon 3, and then to all weapons simultaneously for the alpha strike that units usually use. But if you time it right with this unit, for example, you can activate 1, the 2nd, the 3rd, and then all of them, and just hold the button, and it keeps on just shooting the salvos. Pew, 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 with a unit that usually just does one big salvo with a long reload time. So that's ways how you can exploit the game a little bit, as well as when the units just walk around, they tend to not friendly fire each other. When, like this unit, it has 3 rocket launchers on top. So one at the top, one on the left, one on the right. And if it's positioned in a way where the left rocket launcher would hit a friendly unit in front, it wouldn't fire that rocket launcher, but would fire the others.
That sounds like really smart programming on the developer's part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, except for the Eradicator. The Eradicator is a little tiny truck that can, well, it's a truck. It can only move forward and backward and turn. And it has a black hole generator on its back.
What?
Yes, there's a wonderful mission where the enemy develops this weapon. You're supposed to destroy their research, and they keep sending these things at you. And all the small units, all the small and medium units, die from the black hole from just touching it instantly. They're gone. But since the AI of that truck is not the smartest, it just shoots at the next enemy it can see, which is usually in range of the black hole. When it shoots the thing at maximum range, the black hole the singularity that slowly grows ends at just a few unit lengths of the truck. So when it aims too early, you're not even fast enough to back off out of the black hole the unit itself made. And usually in a multiplayer game, you hear the sound of the black hole going. And somewhere on the map, and you don't know if it's with 4 players, it's like, okay, something. This is the sound of terror. Whose units are gone? Hopefully, it's not mine. Hopefully, one of these trucks just killed itself because it didn't aim right.
You said this was an RTS, but it has first-person view.
Yeah, you can do first-person view is optional, but very useful.
I would say so.
Yeah, go. Can you go to? Let's just finish the thing, and then I'll point out another detail.
So, what are those?
The left and right is the Oblivion rockets. That's the thing. That what you see behind the explosion right now is a gorilla. That is a you could say Titan tier unit. This is his long range weapons. They do massive damage. They have immense reload time. And the center weapon, and this is where it's important. If you control the unit yourself, you have to switch between the weapons. The central one is the ground pound, by which he sends a shockwave in front of him that kills most things in front of him. And he has this
the original Reinhardt.
Yeah, this big creaking sound where he leans backwards, fist up, and then does the ground pound. It looks really slow and powerful, and then the waves come out, and it makes this croaking metal sound of. It's great. It's great. You have a gorilla on the field, and all these tiny units you have, they shoot all they can at all the rockets fly, all the energy, the plasma projectiles fly, and this thing is barely dying, and you don't want it to come close enough to use its fist. But then again, it also has its big fat mega rocket launches. They have really long reload time, but where they strike, there's a lot of carnage. And the flat spider thing you saw crawl from right to left there, that was a scavenger. Scavengers are non-combat units that run around and pick up the scrap of destroyed units so that you have more resources to build units with, because resources on this game are limited. They're not. So they are. If all the resource depots are depleted, you still produce a very, very slow amount of resources, but it slows the game down a lot. So you want it finished before you run out of the main resources. That explain your answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Damn. Night vision.
I just really do like the idea that you can run it like an RTS, but if you want to take over a unit, just take over a unit.
Yeah. Can you go to 10 seconds? I think somewhere there. So this is the inside. You can go to the inside of buildings, as I said, of the repair bay. But only the units small enough to enter can go in there. All other units need to be repaired by repair units that are high tier. There are only some variant command units that you can build that have a healing rate. All the smaller units, you can build this building, the garrison, and they enter, and inside then they park at the side and slowly regenerate hit points. Armor, they regenerate normally, I think, but hit points, they have to regenerate here. And when you want them to come out again, they have to, on the inside, move out of their parking space and move out in a straight line. So it takes time for them to come out again. And a little bit further, there's another building that is in the intro.
This one? Wait, that's not a building.
No, that was the iron cannon. And it was before the 10-second mark, I think. So that's the garrison from the outside. Nah, slowly forward. Okay, so it goes into the garrison. There, that one. So this is inside a research building, a civilian or military research building, and these are technician boards. The right one, so it's very dark, but it's the technician, and the one on the left is a brain box. It has 4 arms so that it can hit more buttons.
What? That's useful, but
Yeah. So the Wi-Fi only works for controlling the units, but in order to do research, they have to hit the keyboards.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, and the brain box is so heavy that it requires these hover units to move around, which also means it can move across water. The important part is, so you have to build the research lab, then you have to build the technicians. They go inside the research lab and then start researching. Or, well, you tell them what to research. It also costs resources, of course, and takes time. What you can do with small enough units, like a little scout or something that is just that makes a difference whether your unit has wheels or these tank things. I'm sorry, I don't know the English word. We call them Raupen in German. Or whether it's a walker. Walkers usually don't fit into these buildings, but you can use your little starting scout unit that has a very weak weapon, dart across the battlefield into the enemy base, dodge the turrets, get into the research lab, and snipe the technicians dead. That this game from '99 allows you something crazy like that. And on top of this, there's the spy unit. The spy can disguise itself so that it just doesn't appear on the radar of the enemy. A player could see that it's a spy, but the AI doesn't recognize it of the turrets, etc.
Okay. So, and it also you said it didn't show up on your radar, so you have to actively notice it and then tell people to do something about it.
Yeah, you can actively click on it and attack that bloody thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's cool. I like that concept.
Yeah, and so it's really just messing with the electronic sensors, not the visual ones that you as the commander have. Well, but you are not a human. The player is itself an AI. Thing with the spy is there's a little bit of stretching the imagination, of course, with the game. What the spy can do is lay mines, and more importantly, it can go into an enemy tech lab, push the technician aside, and then the technician stands in the corner and is sad, probably. You can't see it, but it's probably. I mean, he can't hit the buttons anymore. And the spy unit stands at the terminal and downloads the research data of the enemy so that you can get all those juicy techs for free. The only way to get rid of that bloody thing is to hop into a unit of your own, check your lab, if all your technicians are fine, you have to go on the inside and shoot dead the bloody spy. You can also go into the buildings with your ground camera without a unit. But if you then see, oh fuck, there's a spy in my military lab, you have to maybe your late game. You have to make a new unit, a beginner tier unit. Hop into that, drive it into the bloody lab to kill the spy. I love this. This old game has so many little things going on, including
it really it sounds like it has a lot more depth than a lot of modern games.
Yeah, and it's not grid based. So the buildings are not in these hard grids where it's pop 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 pop. You can place the buildings freely on flat ground. And the later buildings they take up so much space that you sometimes have to make decisions. And there's also the last defense turret, the Leviathan rocket launcher, is not really a defense turret. It's more of a siege across half the map turret. Long reload time, but the rockets of that thing fly across half the map. You can decimate an enemy base if you have a visual. And there's an easy way to exploit those things, because the AI is rather stupid. And if you put the Leviathan, leave it on the standard setting, it attacks the next enemy it can see. So if you dart into the enemy base and the Leviathan has visual range on you, it will fire those rockets. And the small starting units are fast enough to not be hit by its rockets. However, you can also drive right up to it, sit at its feet, and it will blow itself up with you as the bait. This is very helpful in some of the single player missions. The campaign is quite fun. Yeah, I think this is one of the lost gems of real-time strategy history.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Sadly, it came out before online play became big.
And there's no way to play this now without getting old hardware.
So I did manage to get it to run on Windows XP back in the day,
right?
But I needed this special exe file that made it compatible with even the compatibility mode. I don't know how it works, what you need today to make it run, or if it can. I haven't ever bought anything from GOG. I have an account, but I still have all the stuff on Steam. The thing is, let's see, because I know it's on GOG. Or at least I thought it was.
There are several games, like one right now that I have from the creators of Steins Gate. The game Chaos Child will not run because I use an AMD graphics card. And I have to figure out a workaround that other people have figured out to get it running properly.
Okay, I just checked on GOG. It doesn't seem to be on GOG, at least from my end. That is sad, because I'm pretty sure it was on GOG at some point. Damn.
But is it on Steam?
I'm just checking. My Steam is very slow right now. Everything is slow because I'm a tad messy with the browsers. Machines.
One series that I wish was on Steam but is not, is only on Epic, is the Kingdom Hearts series.
I will not touch that ever.
The Epic Game Store?
Yeah. Jeez.
Strategy. Wrong. Let's see. Well, that doesn't help.
Nope,
I
it is
find
not on Steam either.
Damn. Where did it go? It was on. I am 100% sure it was on GOG at some point.
They probably did a purge of all their older games that
No,
wouldn't run properly.
but GOG, that's the whole point of your existence.
Oh, then that's weird.
Give us access to the old stuff.
Because yeah, I've spent hours trying to figure out how to get Command and Conquer Generals to work. And apparently, the easiest thing to do is get a virtual machine that runs Vista, and then have it backwards compatibility to XP, to then have XP get a patch to play Generals.
Ooh.
Is there a compatibility way to do it on Windows 10?
To make it a Vista or an XP, it doesn't work. There's a bug, or like it's not even a bug. It's just it doesn't work. Yes, I've looked into it.
The Wikipedia page reads, Legacy. The game's source code was released by the new rights holder Night Dive Studios in October 2020. The source code is available under the GPL version 3 license on GitHub. The game's assets are also available from the original developer's webpage.
So they gave the game away for free.
Yeah,
like every part of it.
Yeah, I'm seeing random articles on the search engine about it working for Linux.
Okay.
So yeah, if you have some easy to use thing like Ubuntu or something, you can probably get it to run.
Linux, Unix, Ubuntu.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different Linux-based systems.
Ooh. The game is available for download here. That's probably because it is now free. It's probably that's why it's not on GOG anymore.
That would make sense.
Here I get this page, wiredforwar.org, with a very strange avatar of the guy. And it has the ISOs for both disks and a DLL file that may be missing on your system for it to run, as well as an XP patch if that's what you need. Yeah, cool.
Hey, if it's possible to figure out how to, because I'm not good with computers, but that'd be fun to play. Get a 3 or 4 player match going on the internet.
Okay, yeah. I don't know how it runs with the modern Windows is, but yeah, I posted the link in the Discord if you want to put it into the description of this stream.
Yes, I will.
Oh, this game was made before it could shine.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff that happens too.
Yeah, this is one of those games that could have had a good lifetime run of 5 to 10 years in online competitive play, because you can do so much nonsense with it. And that was the great thing about the 90s and real-time strategy games. It had all these different things, and they all did something amazing and different from Command and Conquer that set it off, or rather it's a successor to Dune 2.
Mm-hmm.
But then everything went into its own directions. You had the Age of Empires series, you had Earth 2150, successor to 40, but 50 was an amazing game that I also recommend, as well as its standalone add-ons that have engine upgrades, so they run better. Well, that's probably irrelevant today. Then you have machines on the other side of that, and then you have the odd, more economy-focused games like Settlers. You had all these and Total Annihilation is the other series that shortly after these here, I think it was in 2001 that the trailer for, so just 2 years after this game, that the trailer for Supreme Commander came out.
Oh yeah, I remember Supreme Commander.
Yeah, and when that trailer was on the disc, and my computer at the time had problems running that video because that itself was too high quality.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw the graphics of that game, I was just blown away. Like, what is this? This is an impossible game.
Yeah, to have an RTS with that much graphics and like how much stuff you can build and everything. That many units and things. There's a lot of polygons that it's running.
Yeah, but the thing that makes Supreme Commander especially distinct is its advances in UI design. And all the different things you can do with not just shortcuts, because many games have shortcuts that nobody ever uses. Like Command and Conquer, for example, has a unit scatter option, is more or less useful, depending what the situation is. Like you press X, and your group of units just randomly scatters, which is good against grenades or rockets.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of these little things. But what Supreme Commander did was a so advanced waypoint system that you could not just save building templates, like save this layout of a base and then just pop it in and send your so your worker starts working on it, building it, which can streamline online play especially. No, it also had a waypoint system that you could easily make a loop out of. Like you set up 5 waypoints, and the unit would not just walk it up, but you could then, you don't need to repaint all the waypoints. You can just drag the parts of the path around, so that you can just change the route the unit goes instead of just having to. Yeah, instead of just having to set up a completely new waypoint line, then you can add it into itself, so it becomes a patrol loop. You could start it from a factory, so that the unit that comes out instantly goes onto the patrol route. You could set a waypoint onto a loading area, where a carrier would load units and transport them to another area where it would unload them, and then would get to another waypoint. You could link factories together to assist each other. So you give a build queue into one factory, and all the other linked factories will just take things out of that build queue and build the other units in the build queue. So they don't like in Command and Conquer, when you add another factory, it just reduces the time it takes to build a unit. In Supreme Commander, similar to StarCraft, where every factory has its own build queue, imagine you play StarCraft, you have 2 barracks, and you tell one barrack to build 5 Space Marines. Now the second barracks will take 2 of those Space Marines and build them in parallel. So you get your Space Marines faster.
That's cool.
That's what you could do with Supreme Commander. To the point where, since the factories in Supreme Commander have upgrade levels, you could tell that factory, okay, build this unit, 5 of this unit, and 3 of this unit, and then this unit, and then upgrade yourself. Then you get instantly access in the UI for the tier 2 units, and can tell your tier 1 factory, and then build this tier 2 unit, this tier 2 unit, this tier 2 unit. And it would do that. So before the upgrade is done, you have access to the buttons, because the factory knows by that point it can build tier 2 units.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and that's the game all over. And and it has way more of these features in it. Mm-hmm. That makes it really feel like you are not just standing around units, you are a commander who sets up a base and a strategy. and the units do their stuff automatically. And I am so let down that later RTS games did not copy all of these functionalities, because usually the genre is evolving constantly.
Yeah.
Of
But
course,
no,
not
then
every game has fits features like the first-person camera of machines. Okay, yeah. If you just stay with your top-down game, makes no sense to have a ground camera in it. Okay. However, these UI upgrades, I don't understand why StarCraft 2, for example, could have used them, but it didn't. Instead it went backwards on the gains the game had made in StarCraft 1 into the genre. That's why I personally find StarCraft 2 to be a massive design massacre. I am utterly let down by it, and
StarCraft
it's probably
2?
worth its own. Yeah, StarCraft 2.
Okay.
It's probably worth its own 1 hour rant by me. Because I like StarCraft, but StarCraft 2 has so many design errors, not just flaws, errors. The color choice of the units, it's just the start of it. Like everything is the same mush. StarCraft 1, shiny colors that distinct themselves from the background, shiny unit decals where you see the team colors easily. That helps to distinct it from the background as well. So yeah, it looks silly when you have this giant purple splotches or pink splotches circling. Okay, yeah, but this is made for an RTS, not for a first-person shooter. These units are supposed to stand out so that you can easily identify them and navigate them. Instead, what StarCraft 2 does is the humans, tons of humanoid, little humanoid variant units that do not that don't even have much of a silhouette difference. StarCraft 1, they still had a big silhouette difference. StarCraft 2, hard to see against the background. They're all the same dark mush as the background. Zerglings, most Zerg units, especially on the creep, they have natural camouflage. The units are really hard to see, and they're just an indistinct mush.
I can agree with this because I've played StarCraft 2, and I have lost my units so many times because they blend in with the background.
Mm-hmm. And that shouldn't happen. And Blizzard repeated the same thing with the Warcraft 3 remake, because they let people who do not understand real-time strategy games into the unit design. They made units fit for first-person shooters. But this is an RTS. The units have to stand out. It's not about looking hyper-realistic. It's about being visually useful to the commanding player.
And then you have games like Age of Empires where you know what units you have because they're so visually distinct from one another.
Yeah.
But I think I have one of the
Rabbit StarCraft 2 and Blizzard fans would just rip me apart for that. But I loved Blizzard games to the death. But even then, I will always criticize them for their flaws. Same with World of Warcraft when it was in the making. I was all over the forums complaining because I wanted my favorite game to be better, to not have these child diseases.
Yeah, I used to play World of Warcraft up until, what was it, Mist of Pandaria? I stopped there, then I came back with Warlords of Draenor, and I was just like, oh, it's so simplified now. It feels so boring. There's a lot to do, but once I've done it, there's no point in redoing it. And then Classic came out, and I was so happy to see it back and play the game as I remember it being.
Yeah, Blizzard was so dumb that they always thought that oh no, we're not making vanilla servers. No one wants to play vanilla. And you have these hundreds of fan-made vanilla servers out there, not to make money, but just to play fucking vanilla. which had some tight gameplay compared to what they have now. Yet now it's more fluent, more streamlined. All right, you have more abilities to use, which is something we always wished for. But vanilla had a difficulty curve that the new games don't have, the new add-ons. And I dropped out near the end of Wrath of the Lich King. That was right when they introduced the arena. And I heard I hadn't renewed my subscription already. And when it was then said that they had Anubrikan as a throwaway boss in the arena, I thought, no, I'm not going to go back to this, because this was one of my favorite undead heroes in Warcraft 3. And I just wasted him like all the other main story characters as cheap raid bosses with no attempt at a backstory and the plot whatsoever. It's just, oh, here, have you seen? Oh, here is this character that you know. Let's kill him. Like, fuck off. You could have done a whole plot line for an entire for the entire continent of Northrend just with Anubrikan behind it.
They could have, but they didn't.
The whole Northrend thing, as happy as I was about some engine upgrades that finally allowed them to make terrain with sharp edges, because if you didn't know, the World of Warcraft engine is the Warcraft 3 engine with a few additions.
And then they changed the engine and did whole redesigns of characters and terrain with Cataclysm.
I saw what they did with God, I'm getting old. Sylvanas. Like, she looked better before, honestly. What I wanted to say is I didn't buy the whole Northrend thing from the get-go. I was happy. Oh, we're going to get to Northrend, all the undead stuff. Whoa, awesome. And while I'm not big into horror, I like undead themes for some reason, because they make for good stories, especially for all the magic shenanigans that are going on. And I like the Warcraft 3 undead because they had so many different approaches. Like that, the whole spider thing. The spiders aren't even undead. They're not. You can't use certain abilities on them. But then I come to Northrend. Okay, we have these starting areas for the Alliance and the Horde. Okay, they're at the coast. Maybe we drove back the undead here. But then I go through all of fucking Northrend, and I don't come across any undead. There's even a whole forest full of furbolgs that Arthas didn't conquer. Then there's the big forgotten name, like the Ungoro crater. Okay, it has its magical ancient shield thing going on, but big giant lush forest. This is Northrend. Northrend. This is basically the North Pole of Azeroth. And there's green.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a tundra.
Yeah, it's a tundra. It's a tundra in the south of Northrend. In the center of Northrend, it's a lush forest and then a jungle. This place makes ecologically no sense. And then you have the big troll empire that are to this day. So this is what now? 4 years after Arthas became the Lich King, and I don't know how many years since Ner'zhul set up shop there, building his undead army to venture across to Azeroth. And the trolls, after probably a decade, are still fighting the undead back at the lowest tier of their temple city. The Furbolgs are untouched. The southern areas of Northrend are untouched. The gates of Icecrown, this is the big area, the big icy glacier.
Yes,
Dalaran is there, but it only went there a couple years ago. So they could have peeled out there for since time immemorial. Not time immemorial, but you know what I mean. 10 years' time. Then the other mountain peaks are full of iron dwarfs and titan thingies. Like Arthas, with a super threatening world enslaving undead army, just sits in two tiny fucking areas, for 5 years, and Nazul before that, and does nothing. He can't even conquer this fucking continent
Oh
in
no,
half a
he's
decade.
an amazing military strategist.
Yeah, what the fucking loser. And the what is it? The
Well, you also
Forgotten
have
Empire with the spiders that are underneath.
yeah,
They could have
but-
done a whole continent-sized thing and storyline just with that.
Don't
What is
forget
it?
about the Scourge that never went anywhere after Sylvanas turned against everybody.
Yeah. Honestly, in Lordaeron, the Scourge has more land, had conquered more land than in Northrend.
Because you had them drop the what was it? It was to turn them into the Scourge,
Mhm.
both Horde and Alliance, and then after that, at the gates of Icecrown, they somehow get rid of the Scourge.
I know,
Somehow,
I didn't play that far.
and then the Scourge are never brought up again until Legion. And now with the latest expansion called Shadowlands, there's still no mention of them.
Yeah, I forgot. I stopped following the story after Icecrown because it was just I wasn't interested anymore, and I knew the lore by heart until then, and told people how amazing it is and such, and entire talks about it because I was a nerd about this, and I only heard afterwards it just went more and more stupid, more and more uncreative, and now you got this Sylvanas fanboy writer who has a self-insert character to hook up with Sylvanas. It's basically the male. So he is
Gary
basically
Stu.
what we see with the authors like the I'm Not Starfire authors, the self-insert Mary Sue characters.
Yeah.
And he's writing Sylvanas in a way that makes no sense, completely over the top. And it just makes everything fall apart.
Like Sylvanas before was very cunning in the way that she handled both the Horde and the Alliance,
Yeah.
playing both sides to get what she wanted.
Yeah. And she was one of my favorite characters, but the way she's now is she's just more powerful than anyone. She wins every battle. She's just now she is written as if a Mary Sue. So she doesn't have the backstory of a Mary Sue. The way she's written now is that. I mean, she who took the Frozen Throne after Arthas was beaten?
I cannot remember the dude's name.
Anyway, there was this. I think it was the intro to Shadowlands, and she just beats him.
Balvar or Bolvar.
Yeah,
War Dragon.
He has access to all these Lich King powers, and she just beats him. She's just some undead. She's a quite powerful undead, but she is just some undead, and he has access to the powers of the Lich King. There should be no chance that Sylvanas alone beats that guy.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, as much as I like Sylvanas, this makes no sense. A hero, an interesting hero or anti-hero, needs to struggle. And just because she's beaten down to the ground once, but then gets a second flight and just insta beats him, no, that's not struggling. That's the kind of bad anime writing people complain about.
Yes. Hey, to bring it back slightly to that, what was that game, Machines?
Yes.
Don't hate it, love it.
I looked it up because I was curious when Red Alert 2 came out, because that is one of my all-time favorites, and it's 2000, so it was a year later, and it almost seems like already we're taking steps backwards. Don't get me wrong, still a great game. Love Red Alert 2, love Command and Conquer Generals. But it isn't until Generals that Command and Conquer even stepped into 3D.
Yeah.
I think I have the worst Command and Conquer game on my Steam library.
Which one?
Tiberian Twilight.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Tiberian Sun's good. I have that.
I hated it.
Tiberian Sun?
Horrible sound effects and the way it was hyped up in game magazines. Like, the Westwood is promising these features and those features and more intelligent harvester AI.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, they never used that.
See, I guess
always copy-pasted the old one.
Yeah, I never got hype for it because I got it years after it came out.
Yeah. The thing is, they spoke of the environment that you can have effects on with the battles, like the ground changes because of weapon impact and stuff, and day and night changes, and all it was it looked like a crude SimCity engine that was just that just had these preset height tiles, and the day-night cycles was just a palette change.
I don't even remember there being day-night cycles.
It looked horrible.
I mean, I think you could.
Cheap. I felt cheated just from that, and then the gameplay doesn't really. I liked some of the not unit designs. I didn't like the cyborg soldiers, but
man,
there was so much wrong with that game.
I vaguely remember you being able to like pick if you wanted it to be day or night when going into the map. I don't remember it ever changing time. And
because it's very gradual. But if your machine is slow, you really can see how the map it changes the light tile by tile, and it just sweeps slowly across the screen.
Oh, okay.
Especially then it looks really bad. So it's not changing all at once. It's just a
slow creeping sunrise.
Yeah, I didn't like the tile mechanics of Command and Conquer.
Yeah, I also don't remember the ground impact thing being that good. I remember if you shot like rockets, there'd be like a pixelated splash damage thing that stays there, like a crater or whatever, but it didn't. I don't remember it actually affecting anything.
Oh, you just need to so not just the decals, especially if you used artillery. And they keep, because the Command and Conquer artillery never hits anything. It flies across the map, lands in random spots, and since it does that for half an hour, it really creates this long, steep, inverted pyramid crater that can get really big, and it just looks atrocious.
But Tiberian Twilight runs on the same engine that Tiberian Sun does.
I think it was the standalone add-on.
Yes, it was a standalone add-on, but then it became its own separate game. And it also has a day and night cycle, but it still falls into the issue of looking terrible.
What a waste. What a waste. Just like of 2160.
For Command and Conquer 4. Jeez, yeah, I would imagine it's not good. Isn't that like the last... Didn't that kill the whole Command and Conquer series, Command and Conquer 4?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was an early case of... so it wasn't social justice, but it was a similar thing of, we don't care for canon. We don't care what we did in the last game. We have these new hip developers that just want to do their own thing, and even when asked by back then actual games journalists, what role will the screen play in this in Command and Conquer 4? And the devs jokingly said, "The screen? Who? What is that?" Haha. Like they just acted as if the screen never existed because they either didn't know what to do with them or didn't want to do anything with them.
Was that the aliens? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They're just missing from Command and Conquer 4.
That's fun. Like as if they never even existed.
Yeah. Because they gave the project to completely different people who didn't give a shit about Command and Conquer. and that is how you destroy your franchise. Give it to people who don't give a shit, want to do their own nonsense. Instead of making a new thing, they want to write on the name of something else, and thereby trash both their new thing and the existing franchise. You're just both are going to lose, and that's what we now see.
It happens time and time again.
Yeah, not just with hacks for just being hacks, but also with the hacks are now also driven by ideology and just insert propaganda and thereby make things shit. And then of course you have shitheads like the guys who ruined the Game of Thrones series. They're incompetent hacks and they're ideologues.
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast ruined D&D.
No, D&D is the name of the director and producer. It's like Dan and Dan or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, from what I heard, they basically said, "Oh yeah, we're done. We're like tired of writing for Game of Thrones. We want to," because they also had like a movie lined up. I think a Star Wars movie they were going to get.
They had
so they just
trilogy.
tanked. Yeah, and they just tanked the end of the show because they didn't want to actually write it. They were ready to move on, and then because of how bad it went, they lost their contract for a Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, because that's how children act. They got tired of their toy.
I've got new toys.
Throw it away. And that is so unprofessional.
Very, very. Because then, what happens if you're giving them a bunch of money to make a trilogy, and they get to the third movie, and they're like, "Bah, I'm ready for something else." So they just tank your third movie.
Yeah.
Not that anyone seems capable of making Star Wars stuff anymore, but
fans do.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really seen any good fan stuff. But I haven't been looking for it.
Movies together.
All right, yeah.
Even the Kenobi one that has very limited action.
Star Wars doesn't have to have action.
I have an issue with, but it even does this low level. New Hope level action scene with just a few stormtroopers and lots of. So it's a cover scene. Take cover because the stormtroopers are attacking now, and it's tight. It's tense. It's really tense because the others don't have weapons.
And I think the whole like action thing. I feel like people. Whoever's like working on this stuff now, they think that it's an action movie, that there's got to be fights and sword fights and it has to be intense and explosions and blah, blah. And it's like, well, if you go back to the original Star Wars, there's very few fights. It's not about the fights. It's about the drama.
An action movie, and this is something Michael Bay doesn't understand, for example, a good action movie is not made by tons of explosions and projectiles flying around. A good action movie is made by the action meaning something.
Yes.
By there being tension.
Yeah. Also, what's that? There's a term for it, but it's where you need to let things breathe and rest because then it makes those moments of intense action have more impact. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Western media seems to not be doing at all anymore.
No.
Ebert and his I don't know the other guy's name because I've seen very few of those shows, those critique shows. But he talked about this in his review of Grave of the Fireflies, which he really liked. And because he pointed it out especially because it's so prevalent in Grave of the Fireflies, but it is a common thing in Japanese media. That you have these scenes that breathe. They're like punctuations. Like you have something going on, or a dialogue that's very tense or that's very impactful, and then you have the calm shot of the landscape, the outside.
Yeah, and lots of that.
Yeah, and that's like making the. Putting the period at the end of a paragraph.
That's one of the things that really stood out because Naruto was like the first anime to really get me to watch anime, and that's something that always stood out to me is that like this really important moment was about to happen, and as it's about to happen, it would like cut to a butterfly or cut to a flower as the wind is blowing it. And it's like, it all of a sudden added a lot more to the scene of like, because you can use that landscape shot and stuff to tell a story that's about the situation, right? Like you can use that as a visual, like, you know, if you could have a waterfall to a calm stream, and depending on what the scene is, it's like, yes, that's what's happening right now, is that these two forces about to clash like a waterfall, but then at the end of it will be like, you can just tell so much story through that landscape shot based on what the story is.
Yeah,
Berserk does this really well as well. They will have really, really long arcs where it's just dark and depressing. But after that is taken care of, you will have 3 to 5 chapters of just lightheartedness.
That's also something I think Hunter x Hunter does really well. Hunter x Hunter's pacing has been on par. I just finished the Ant arc on the anime, and I would say its pacing was great until like the last 15 episodes of that arc, and then it just felt like it ground to a halt and became so slow. But there was a lot that they were taught, like there was a lot that happened, but it just was so slow. That's my only complaint. Because up till that point, I thought the pacing was perfect. Like when there was a fight, what happened between fights, what the next adventure was, everything was just perfect timing. You never got bored, and then it just ground to a halt at the end.
Yeah, and the quiet scene, it's not just used as punctuation, but also as and that's something the West knew how to do.
Yeah, they used to.
It can also be used as in a battle where two people fight each other and they're just standing there and checking out the other guy. And that's the moment where you take a little landscape shot, or this little the dewdrop rolling off a blade of grass, because everything is quiet, because these two warriors are about to battle and they're gauging the other. And this the West knew how to do this when they made Western movies.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's the standoff scene.
Yeah, I think Lord of the Rings even did it really well. Because I mean, even on a grand scale, because you had like the Helm's Deep, and there's a lot of stuff that happens before the battle that when all of a sudden the enemy troops march up and there's just a face off of like, so who's gonna fire the first shot? You know, and then it starts raining and there's chanting, and like there's a lot of build up to it instead of it just being, oh, they're here, fight. You know.
I didn't think of that as doing that same thing between armies, but you're right.
Yeah, and
it's the same thing.
Just on a larger scale. And so it is possible, because you're setting the stage, you're making a mood, you know, with the rain, getting sweeping shots of the humans that are, you know, like, and you're just seeing it's like a bunch of old dudes and like disabled, like guy missing eye and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah. And then you cut to this army of like bred to kill warriors, and then it starts raining and chanting, and it just really sets up what's about to happen instead of just an action scene.
Yeah, and being the weathered army standing in formation in the rain while the other army is there on the other side. That alone portrays war way more than any action scene. Because you're there, you're already worn out before the battle begins. And compare all of this, what you just said, what I just said, to Michael Bay action and even MCU action.
Oh, yeah.
Compare that to the Infinity War, and as much as I like Infinity War, to the battle scene in Wakanda. It's just instant mess with bullshit with the alien army.
They're just running at each other.
Any personality, any sense, any. It doesn't feel like a real threat. Yeah, it's masses of aliens, but the Wakandans seem happy to go to fight. And compare this to the Orc army in Helm's Deep.
Right. No, see, that's the thing too, is what, like you're saying, with these more modern films, we now the directors or whoever, whatever, writers, directors, whatever, are just like, oh, we just need a swarm of things for them to kill. Make it robots, make it aliens, whatever. There's no personal like attachment to them. Because yeah, like you were about to say, there's the orcs. We've spent time with them. We watched them get birthed and their weapons forged. We've seen them on a small scale, how threatening they are.
They're all individual.
And yes, they all have a different look to them. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and if you what was the costs of the Lord of the Rings movies?
Oh, I don't know offhand.
30 million overall.
It really wasn't much.
Yeah, and it's the same cost. One Lord of the Rings movie is what was it?
Let's see.
About 3 hours.
Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring had 93 million.
That it cost.
So basically
Is that
100 million
adjusted?
a piece. So yeah, about 300
Is that
million.
adjusted for inflation?
Then
right here it says
sorry,
the
I'm
whole
missing a
series
digit.
281 million.
Okay, let me look that up because then I dropped a zero somewhere. Sorry. Lord of the Rings.
I don't know what the inflation would be.
Oh yeah, budget over all 3 films, 290 million. It's rounded up to 300 and just say it's 100 million per movie.
Mm-hmm.
That is of course put into 3 hours plus. And a Game of Thrones episode, I think, was 10 million a piece, which made it also 100 million per season. And
It doesn't look as good as Lord of the Rings.
I also just want to point out, all right, here it's got
What are you
Hobbit,
doing?
The Unexpected Journey was 180 million.
I'm hearing weird music. Is that you or me?
What?
That's not me.
Music?
Do you hear anything?
No.
Okay, then some
Maybe an
tab
ad started playing
on my
yeah.
end.
That's what I'm thinking.
What the fuck?
But also
It's some horrible rap stuff. I have no idea where it's coming from.
Also the movie's made 3 billion. So talk about a successful film. And that's in box office. So it's 300 million spent, 3 billion made.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I fixed it. It was some Steam Twitch thing.
Okay. But then The Hobbit was 180 million. Just
Total?
for the one. Yeah.
Oh,
180
one.
million. No, for the first movie.
Oh god.
180 million. And then they made $1 billion back on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So technically they made less money.
What I wanted to get at is just aside from any profits made,
right?
Just how much money was put into it,
yes,
to get something out. So we could relatively speaking, that Lord of the Rings had cost 3 times as much as Game of Thrones, because it had you take 100 million and you make a 3-hour movie. Mm-hmm. Instead of what a Game of Thrones season was, is a 10-hour movie. Okay. But most of the money goes into initial set design and costumes and all of that. So that's after that you can reuse a lot of things.
Yeah, so like the first season should have been the most expensive to get started.
Yeah.
But then once you've already got King's Landing or whatever and like these certain sets, then you're saving money on your next season. I get what you're saying. After
that, it's mostly writing. And even with just that, and I think Game of Thrones in the beginning looked really, really good. But even there, you can see the difference between the beginning of Game of Thrones with in regards to battle to the ending of Game of Thrones and how battle is handled there and armies, which is that's just silly. In the beginning of Game of Thrones, it all has grit. It's all this weathered stuff. It's people who don't really want to fight. They do it because they have to. They know they have to. They need to. And the as I remember it, the battles made more sense. And in the end, you have this undead nonsense where you just wonder, what the fuck is this? Like the famous scene in the last season with the siege weapons in the front of the castle, the army outside the castle, the army in front of the trenches, and then sending the cavalry all at once into the darkness of the undead, which technically should rise again right away and be sent back. That's what I would. Had I
love
been
the fact that
one
people
of
defend that.
One of the not liches, what are they called? White Walkers. Had I been one of the White Walkers and seen the enemy army doing this,
oh well, easy win.
I would have just thought, okay, we killed all the cavalry with all these people from the other continent.
Next, we'll move in close enough that the catapults can't hit us.
Yeah, but rise up and just send them back. Send the undead horses with the undead Davraki back. Just as an insult to the defending army. Like, dude, are you even trying?
I don't think they were.
No.
I never really watched Game of Thrones, but I've seen that fight specifically because I heard it was such a failure that I had to watch it.
It was insulting.
Awful.
I honestly stopped watching Game of Thrones after season 3.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I did hear everything going on with season 8, and I'm just like, oh, that got real bad, huh?
Yeah, because season 3 was still good.
I hate that I was right, but it's really funny because like some of my friends were like, "Oh, we're gonna start watching this." I was like, "It's not gonna be worth it." And then I think they were on like season 5 at the time or whatever. I was like, "It's not gonna be good. They're not gonna be able to pay it off. It's not gonna have a good ending." Mm-hmm. And they were like, "No, it's gonna be great or whatever." And then they get to the end and they're like, "All right, yeah, it sucked." Like,
well, at season 5, I'd say you could still have had hope. It was falling apart, but it still had hope. The characters still were kind of acting like they should for the most part. But after that, it's just gone.
Yeah, and but I mean, the same thing happened when The Force Awakens came out, and I watched it twice on release day. And the first time I watched it, I was just so thrilled to be watching Star Wars, and I was like, this is great. Then I came back to the theater later and watched it with another group of people, and when I walked out, I was the only one that was like, oh no. Oh no, this is going to be terrible. And they're like, no, it's going to be great. And I was like, I understand, but no. And they're like, just wait till the end. And then all these years later, they're like, okay, you were right.
After the first watching, I was
the only one I liked was Rogue
Squadron or whatever it was called. Okay, few interesting scenes, and they mostly played it safe, and I understand why they played it safe. Okay, totally. I can accept that. Let's see where we go from here. That was my first thought after seeing it, and I thought that I have no idea what they're doing with Rey. She seems autistic.
Yeah, I wasn't too thrilled with that.
Yeah, but that was the only analysis I could have for her in my first watching it. And I thought, that's a really interesting choice of writing the character, but I doubt they know what to really do with that. And it would be a very strange choice to have an autistic main character in Star Wars.
To me, Finn was the most interesting character.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened with him.
Yeah. I would have loved the story to go... Rey just being the because she's so blank slate-ish, to be just the side Jedi NPC character, and the story moving to Finn as he discovers his Force sensitivity.
Yeah, I was
also
convinced
reconciling with him having been a stormtrooper and now he's shooting his former comrades.
That's something that never made sense to me. Like right from the beginning, that's why I was like, I'd like to get to know what's up with this guy that he just defected and immediately turns around and starts murdering his former companions.
Yes.
That knows exactly what they're going through.
Yeah, and then
they go through the same shit as he does.
He like laughs about it and says "woohoo" when he gets kills. I'm like, what are you doing? You're a madman.
He should be traumatized and torn inside of how do I reconcile with this?
Yeah, because I know who these people are.
Yeah, there are some brainwashed assholes there. Okay, but there are some people like me.
Yeah, how does it give me the right to kill them when they're not choosing to do this?
Just to go through this. Give me at least a scene where for 2 minutes he's struggling and or has nightmares about not knowing who is who among the stormtroopers. Like, let him wake up from a nightmare where he kills random stormtroopers and some are assholes and some turns out are him. Like the classic. That's where you could have an echo of the other movies with Luke and the cave. Yeah, and Finn has a force vision, a force nightmare, where he shoots with a minigun all the stormtroopers, and then some lost their helmets, and it's his face, and he takes off some other helmets, and it's always him. It's always him. All the stormtroopers are him. That would have been great.
I know. Just to because they wanted to. JJ wanted to humanize the stormtroopers, but then just immediately forgot and wanted to have a good old fashioned let's just shoot the bad guys, woohoo! And it's like, well, you opened this can of worms here. You can't just ignore it.
Yeah, if you like that that whole theme, look for the fan film Bucketheads.
We could watch that tomorrow if you want to join us.
Sure thing.
But we are going to have to wrap up.
Yep, time to start getting ready for work.
Yeah. I hope I didn't take too much space here.
No,
it
was great.
I tend to ramble so much.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
It's always fun talking to you, Wisp.
Yay!
And you bring things to light that I didn't realize before, such as the RTS game that looks really cool for 1999.
I love that game.
And I got to figure out how to get it downloaded and running properly.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the next level is we try to figure out how to make it multiplayer workable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And then we stream it.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Definitely.
That sounds like a quest.
Yes. But we're going to close out here and be back tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, before we leave, I just want to tease that I'm still going to try and talk about this Jeffrey Epstein stuff. It just didn't feel appropriate for today. But I got a lot of stuff pulled up to look at. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow or sometime this week.
Sometime this week. If not tomorrow. All right.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.